Next, let's discuss in this one the rhythm and also use of a technique called leitmotifs. I'm going to come on to those in a minute, but we're going to start with rhythm. So the first thing first is that there are within the piece quite a few time signature changes and some tempo changes as well. And it's worth just going through your score and double checking you know which time signature happens where and which tempo marking happens where. This is where knowing your Italian tempo markings, it comes in pretty useful. I'm not going to bother listing each of those here. They're just in the music. You just need to look through the score, highlight them, and make sure that you know what tempo happens where, what time signature change happens where. What I do want to talk about here is a technique of syncopation. So syncopation is a really common technique used in lots of 20th, 21st century music, both classical, jazz, rock, pop, musicals. It's one of the sort of like most common features of more modern music. It's a really key feature. The particular syncopations used here are sometimes called a sort of push rhythm or a push syncopation. Whenever you're talking about syncopation, if you're answering a question about rhythm, you must use the word syncopation. Don't just say it uses a push rhythm, but you must use specifically the word syncopation, or you can call it offbeat instead. But it kind of has a feel of a push rhythm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the piano part in bars 32 and 33 here, and I'm going to play it first time as if all of the rhythms were on the beat. So I'm going to count myself in after 4, and I'm going to play those chords in bars 32 and 33. And you can hear what it sounds like as an on-beat rhythm. So, as an on-beat rhythm, it would sound like this. So that's using sort of traditional on-beat rhythm. You've got a syncopation here on halfway through the 3rd beat of the bar, but then this push rhythm, particularly here, the reason it's called a push rhythm is it feels like the music is pushing ahead of where it should be. So instead of it sounding on the beat, you get this push feel. This is a rhythm as written in the music. And it's a really common feel in the song. You can see from the screen as well that I've also just highlighted, just in those few bars, all the other syncopated rhythms. And all of those rhythms happening on the final quaver of a bar, they're push rhythms, so it's changed and not. And the syncopation isn't just in the voice part, it's also in the orchestral parts as well. And that's what we've got there. Final thing is that you can often tell where there's a syncopation because the use of ties. So rhythmic ties, remember, join 2 notes together at the same pitch. So you get the length of both notes combined rather than one rhythm followed by the other rhythm as 2 separate sounds. And you can see the number of ties just in these few bars here. And if you look through your score, you'll see ties galore. Not many in the intro, granted, but once you get into the verse and the chorus is full of syncopated rhythms. It really is the most prevalent feature in terms of rhythm. So syncopation, very important. So that's a rhythm taken care of. What about leitmotifs? So first of all, a leitmotif is a technique taken from opera again. And it's where you have a short musical motif which is associated with a character or an idea or an emotion. And this technique was developed by Wagner. He's a German composer of opera in the 19th century, and his music's a bit like Marmite. Some people absolutely love Wagner's operas. They think it's just like the best classical music going. Others really hate it. I have to say, hate's a strong word, but I kind of fall into that camp. I'm not a massive fan personally. But the technique is a really common one. The idea being that you take a musical motif, or sometimes it could be a melody. In this case, it's a chord sequence we're looking at here, and you reuse it. But you don't reuse it in exactly the same way. You might transform it by changing it in pitch, or altering the tempo, or the dynamics, or the way it's performed. It could be sung, it could be played, but it's essentially the same musical idea. What we've got here is what's known as Elphaba's leitmotif. That's what this one is here. Elphaba's leitmotif, and it's first heard in bar 20. I'm going to play it now on the keyboard, because I've only got a keyboard rather than a piano in front of me. It means I'm going to have to play it up the octave, because I'm going to run out of notes down in the bass. But this is Elphaba's motif. It goes something like this. So it's that chord pattern. Now, if you think about it, you can hear that chord pattern come back throughout the song. So have a little think about where it comes. Try and locate examples in your score, and then in a second you're going to hear where all of those occur, because I'm just going to drop in the sound of each of those leitmotifs for you to listen to. So it's the same basic musical idea based on that chord sequence, but it's repeated in a slightly different way each time you hear it. So here come all of the other instances of Elphaba's leitmotif in Defying Gravity. Now we've had a good listen to those, what we can do is just check that you spotted them all. Here they are. So this is my list of Elphaba's leitmotifs. So the ones that we just listened to are all listed there. What I'm not going to do is talk through each one now. We just listened to them all. But if you wanted to just double check you've got all those written down, you could pause the video at this point, go to your score, check them all through, and make a little note of them. Okay? Bear in mind that Elphaba's leitmotif here is harmonic, it's a chord sequence. So that's Elphaba's leitmotif taken care of. What about some more? So the next one I'm going to talk about is it's called the unlimited leitmotif, and it comes in the bridge. It's a bar 93 where Elphaba sings, and then she goes on to sing "We're Unlimited." The phrase carries on. And what you might not know, in fact I'd be amazed if you know, is that unlimited leitmotif is actually based on the melody of the chorus of Over the Rainbow, which of course is a song from The Wizard of Oz, and this musical is also based on the story of The Wizard of Oz, so it kind of ties it together. So have a little listen. This is Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the start of the chorus. And here is the unlimited melody. And then the melody carries on. The sort of like borrowing of the melody is limited to just 7 notes. And the reason why it's limited to 7 notes is because copyright rules state that you shouldn't really copy more than 7 notes in a row for breaking copyright law. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside, but it is definitely the same melody. Did you know before you listened to it that you were listening to a melody based on Somewhere Over the Rainbow from The Wizard of Oz? Probably not. I'm not sure I did the first time I listened to it. It's changed dramatically. The rhythm's not the same. The accompaniment is definitely not the same. So it's different instruments underneath, it's different lyrics, it's a different tempo, and it's got different harmonies as well. So pretty much everything about the music, apart from the combination of intervals that makes up this phrase, everything else about it is different, but that melodic shape has been used, and it's been used deliberately by Schwartz here as a sort of tribute to Harold Arlen's song Over the Rainbow. Harold Arlen was the composer of the music from The Wizard of Oz. So that's one there. The next one is the use of what's called a cipher or a code, and that's how Stefan Schwartz has hidden in parts of Defying Gravity, the D, E, F, G, and he's hidden it into the melody and made a leitmotif out of those letters, the D, the E, the F and the G. So the phrase in the intro, "You can still be with the wizard," is an example of that. You can see another example of it in this final little musical bit of the score here, starting just at the very end of bar 161, which is in the coda. Can you see where the motif is used there? Have a little look. Well, initially it doesn't look like it is being used, but actually if you look, it's been used in reverse. So instead of going D, E, F, G, this is going backwards or retrograde, G, F sharp, E, D. Takes you to the word bring. Okay, so that's the Defying Gravity leitmotif used forwards in its first instance. You can still be with the wizard, and then used in retrograde. That's not it though. There are other examples of that as well, hidden away in the music here or there. So that concludes everything about leitmotifs for now. It's a really important technique, and it's used so much in musicals and also in films as well. And it owes, as a technique, it's all owed to Richard Wagner, who's the composer of lots of operas in the 19th century. So leitmotif is an important technique that affects the harmony here in Elphaba's leitmotif, and then these last two are obviously melodic ones, the eluted motif and the over the rainbow motif. Okay.